To begin with, business and immigration law updates. This is a presentation of the Khurana Law Firm, whereby the Chief Attorney and Counselor at Law is Attorney Ramesh Khurana. The moderator on our set is Attorney Kenneth Haber from Boyd's, Maryland. This week, Attorney Haber questions Attorney Khurana on the long absence from the United States by green card holders. Let's take a look.
Welcome. My name's Ken Haber. I'm a former Assistant United States Attorney. That's a federal prosecutor. And I'm also a former Senior Attorney in the Office of Inspector General of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. That's the Medicare cops. With me today in the studio audience is Ramesh Khurana. Welcome, Ramesh.
Thank you, Ken.
Ramesh is a world-renowned attorney. I say world-renowned attorney because he represents people across the world in the matter of immigration matters. And he's an excellent attorney, I know, because I've even used his services getting my wife her green card and her citizenship, and I wouldn't turn her over to anyone that I didn't have extreme confidence in. And he's here to give you today, on the Capitol Forum, his information, his advice concerning the issue of long absences from the United States by green card holders. Ramesh, welcome again.
Thank you, Ken, and I appreciate your generous introduction. Really appreciate it.
It comes from my heart, you know that.
I know that. I know that.
Ramesh, what would be considered a long absence from the United States by a green card holder, and what are the implications in that?
Excellent questions, especially who are green card holders, or they are sons and daughters or spouses of green card holders. You should know the answer to this question. Now, what is considered long absence from the United States for green card holders? I had mentioned in one of my sessions earlier on this channel that if your intent changes, even for a day, once you decide, I don't want to stay here in the United States.
I want to stay in the United States.
I know. It may happen sometimes. Let us say a father who grew up in India, he lived there for 50, 60 years, and because he wants to stay with his children, he has moved to the United States, but his heart always remains in his home country.
Understandable.
Believe me. So, if he thinks that he is not comfortable here, he is at home, children are gone for work, and he is sitting by himself at home. So, he thinks that probably he should go back and talk to his friends in India, or he should be spending some time with his extended family members. If he thinks for a minute that I want to go back, your intent changes, and because it is all linked to your intent. And that causes the problem here. Now, as part of that process, you decide to go back to your home country and stay there for 8 months, 9 months, depending upon your situation. Believe me, if that is the kind of situation and you are returning to the United States along with a return air ticket, and you show to the officer that I am planning to go back in 1 week, that shows your change of intent. That means you are no longer interested to have United States as your permanent residence, and you are creating a problem for yourself at the port of entry, because if that officer comes to the conclusion that you should not be holding this green card because this is not what you want, he can ask you to take the next flight and go back if you decide to withdraw your application for admission to the United States, or he can even issue you a notice to appear before the immigration judge, and your lawyer will keep on defending you before the immigration judge to prove that you have very strong ties to the United States and you wanted to stay here all along. That becomes a very difficult situation, Ken.
I would certainly imagine that, and people would have ambivalence in terms of wanting to be both places because they have family here and they've got family in India, and it would be a natural thing for a parent to want to see their children in both venues.
You got it.
What happens if a person comes to the United States after staying in his home country for, say, 18 months because he really liked the grandkids running all over him and playing with them. And, you know, he thought, gee whiz, this might be the last time because I'm 85 years old and who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yes. Now, there are several issues here. Now, first of all, in your question, the person has stayed on his green card for 18 months. And I will assume that he never applied for the re-entry permit. Now, let me explain to the audience, if you are really intending to stay over a period of long time, or at least I would say beyond 1 year, it would be better if you apply for the re-entry permit, so that you are letting the immigration authorities know that I have got something to do in my home country and I will be absent for 12 months or 18 months, and you can be given at any point of time re-entry permit up to 24 months. So, you should do that. In the fact pattern, as you have explained to me, I assume that that person didn't apply for the re-entry permit and he had just overstayed.
He didn't have a good immigration attorney like you.
Thank you so much. So, in that kind of situation, he has basically abandoned his green card. I do not want that person who has overstayed up to 18 months to take the flight and come to the United States. He is going to have problems.
What would you recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend that while he is in India, he should apply for the returning resident status. There is a provision. Under this returning resident status application, this is also called SB1. So, he will have to prepare one application and file it. The application is DS 117, and he should file it with the local consulate or embassy of the jurisdiction of that person, and then he will be called for interview. It happens fairly quickly, interview takes place. And once he is interviewed, the consular officer is going to decide whether it was something beyond his control. Like in your fact pattern, if he just decided to play with the grandchildren in India and he was having a nice time, that is not something beyond his control. But if he was sick, he was hospitalized, or there was some death in the family, which basically prevented him from coming to the United States, or maybe he was in dispute with the siblings and his passport was impounded, with the result he just couldn't come despite his best efforts. So, he has to show to the consular officer, I wanted to come back all along because it happened, it was absolutely beyond my control. Only then he has the statutory authority to forgive the long absence and issue you a returning resident status or SB1 status. What does it mean? That means after that you have to apply for the medical examination and you have to obtain the medical examination report from a physician who is on the panel of the local embassy, and at the same time your criminal background checks will be carried out, and if you are found eligible, you will be allowed to come back.
You know, that's really terrible. A person who's gone all through the trouble of getting a green card, and he wants to stay a little time with his grandkids, that under the scenario, he's 85, he doesn't know if he's ever going to be able to come back to see his grandkids again, and they treat him as if somehow, he's ISIS or something like that, and he's not. He's a normal, by this definition, normal human being, ought to be treated with the same compassion as any other human being, and not treated as some sort of terrorist.
You are right, but that is the way regulations are made, and the officer doesn't have the statutory authority to permit that person to come in.
Oh, it's a statutory matter.
After having stayed for such a long time. So, that's why this problem is there. So, my advice to the people would be plan it properly. If you are planning to overstay beyond 1 year at least, try to apply for the re-entry permit before you leave. If you are unable to apply for the re-entry permit, try to come back as soon as possible. and your intent should be to come back as soon as you are going to your home country as a visitor, not to reside there.
Right.
Now you are a visitor to your country and you are a permanent resident of the United States. Right. This is the mantra people have to keep in their mind.
Yes. Does that advanced reentry permit them to stay out longer, that it waives that statutory requirement?
Yes. In fact, once the re-entry permit is granted, it can be given at any point of time for a maximum period of 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So you apply for 2 years, then you come back within 2 years. Don't try to come back on an expired re-entry permit. So come back. And once it has expired, let us say that you want to go back for 2 more years, maybe you are doing some kind of business in India, but you are trying to wrap it up. It takes some time. That is understandable. Your intent is not changing because you are trying to dispose of your ancestral property or taking care of other financial issues, or you are basically in a business and you are trying to wrap up the business, which takes some time. It's understandable, but do it before you leave. You can apply for re-entry permit while you are in the United States, not while you are sitting in your home country, and you have to give your fingerprints as well. And without giving fingerprint, you can't leave. So that's the way this application process is complete.
Can you apply for that and give the reason? I want to play with my grandkids? Does it have to be business money?
Yes, it has to be explained fully and say that, okay, I have been deprived of spending some time with my grandkids and I have to take care of some other family issues while I am gone on a re-entry permit, and I want to come back as soon as I have accomplished my mission. So in a way, you are demonstrating to USCIS to excuse your absence just for a limited period of 2 years because to meet with your emotional requirement.
Yeah.
That is fine, but let them know.
Sure.
At least, let us say, if the application is not granted, then you will come back.
Yeah.
You know?
You know.
Yeah, so you know it, that you have to come back. It's not granted.
Right.
But
right.
I have never seen application on this ground being rejected.
That's good. Shows that they got some heart as well as smarts.
Yeah, that's right.
What can a person do to demonstrate the strong ties in the United States to show that they are really planning on being here as residents and citizens?
You can show your strong ties to the United States if you are doing a job in the United States. Then of course you have your W-2 or 1099, or you are owning a business, you are owning some property or leasing a home, you have a bank account, and your immediate family members are here. So no one factor is adequate to demonstrate strong ties to the United States. It's a combination of factors. I would like to just wrap it up because the cameraman is indicating our time is over. Maybe in some other session we will talk in more details.
Well, we really appreciate you coming here and giving this insight because I'm sure this is the type of thing that many people from India, from any place overseas, has come up in their lifetime when they're here. And, you know, if they're here and they got the green card, best thing for them to do is get that citizenship, then they don't have to worry about all this.
I agree with you. If you cannot live in this country permanently, better you give up your green card. You don't need to keep your green card. You can apply for a visitor visa, especially if you are a national of India. You can be given a visitor visa for 10 years and just come and go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.